right, AMG Hobby Talk number 94. No bonus, Blair. He sat on a throne of lies. He told us lies, Steve.
Well, I think he must be filming like a Netflix documentary or something.
Mm.
This kind of one of those travel documentaries. So hopefully that will be released in the late fall, because I think this is his last week of gallivanting for now.
We'll see. We'll see. So maybe the return of Bonus Blair next week. To be determined. We'll find out if Bonus Blair does return. Otherwise, Steve, Collector Scalps, Collector People, is here with me. We're going to get into a couple of specific things. This week, we're going to be focusing in on Upper Deck Clear Cut. We'll talk a little bit about that, a couple of things that I'll showcase with that. But let me start off with this. First, reminder. So the week that we're recording this and the week that we're going to drop the episode, it is the trade night and card show. So it is the end of the month, so you have those two things. So quickly, I'll share with you from the social medias. Again, if you follow the social medias, you'll always see the stuff. So I do recommend it. It is in the description, also scrolling across the bottom of the ticker. So right here is the little graphic that has been made up for it. So for the card show itself, August 30th is the next one. So that's the next one you're going to see. That is the last Saturday of the month. But also on the Friday, you got the trade night inside the store. Everything is happening inside the Bedford Place Mall. That is the place to go check it out. At the very bottom there, if you look, table bookings, amgcardshow@gmail.com. So if you're involved in that and want to make sure, check your stuff, reach out directly to that contact. If you have questions or anything related to it, reach out directly to the store. Again, anything that's time sensitive, reach out directly to the store. I always give you guys reminders. That's always the best way. For the card show, it's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the Saturday. There will also be, I'll give you the reminders now, card shows coming up September 27th, October 25th, and November 29th. November is the same month as the expo, but at the same time, that'll be right at the end of the month. So that won't be impacted by it. It'll be all good. But then always the Friday before that is the trade night. Can you quickly give me the hours for the trade nights on the Friday, Steve?
As always, it's 5 to 8, and now that we're near the end of the summer months and kids will be heading off to school soon, the traffic's probably going to start picking up on the trade nights as well. Little quieter in the summer months, which is understandable, but as always, the show's sold out, and Blake has been doing a good job with the transition of kind of taking over the running of the show. So a lot of the customers are getting used to now using that email that's listed below there. And for table bookings or anything show related, email Blake, and he will get back to you.
Perfect. All right. So we'll get into that here. Next up, quickly, I'll touch on a couple of comments, or I'll touch on a comment from last week's episode. Retro 80s Reseller, love it, says, Scallops out, Firehouse subs in. The collector of the scallops will soon be the collector of the Firehouse subs, which is set to open in Hogan Court in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. I'm excited about that. Last couple of Toronto shows, I've stayed here and held the fort. So knowing that, Firehouse probably noticed I wasn't in Toronto, so they're bringing their business to me. So thank you, Firehouse subs.
Excellent. Good comment. Appreciate it. Again, anything that's not time sensitive, you can always put that in the comment section. We'll generally reply, usually within the following episodes. So usually that's how we'll go into it. Now, let's get into it here, and we'll showcase a couple of items that came in the shop, and then I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about Clear Cut, and then at the very end, we'll maybe if we've got a couple of minutes, we'll discuss the nearly $13 million sale of a dual logo man. A couple of fun things about that one, but let's quickly get into showcasing a couple of things that came in the shop, and then we'll go from there. So let's go in here and showcase a couple of these items here. Actually, let me do this first. Let me do it this way first. Actually, before I do, real quick, I want to make sure I just read this off. So next items, products that are going to be coming in the shop. Like I mentioned, Clear Cut Hockey is there. There is 2025 Prism Live Golf. Again, availability and pricing. Reach out directly to the store always for these. Optic Basketball, 2025 Bob Donruss Optic Basketball, 2025 Mosaic Basketball International, 2025 Obsidian Soccer International, 2025 Basketball Mosaic Blasters, and then 2024 James Bond No Time to Die. So those are the other products that are included in there. Just a little bit of a heads up on that. All right, so let me showcase a couple of the items here that came in the shop. Let's go here and open up this window. Okay, here we go. Perfect. So we're going to start off with a comic book here. The Tomb of Dracula for CGC in a 7.0. So a little bit of a different thing, but there is comic books as well.
Yeah, so this was Blair's decision, and of course he's not here to talk about it, but yes, it is a Tomb of Dracula comic, and apparently a nice one. So Blair may not be here, but this is for you, Blair.
Hmm. Now, the good news is, one thing I'll give credit to is that CGC actually does a good job about this. So this is very helpful. This will be good for folks, Steve. With the CGC, they will include sometimes in the holder at the very top of the label, they'll include a note about something related to the comic. So this is the Tomb of
Mhm.
Dracula. Why would somebody want this comic, random comic called the Tomb of Dracula? Well, the answer is right at the top here. First appearance of Blade, the Vampire Slayer.
Mhm.
So if you're familiar with the Blade character, that is the specific focus of why this Tomb of Dracula is significant. That's the significance of it. Then we'll get into some vintage. So it was funny, actually. We had a question about CFL, and the answer, real quick, just to give a highlight on this: CFL and any other sports or anything, it depends on what comes in. Depends on what comes in. It depends on what's brought in. Like, we're not going to manufacture something. It's like, if that's what came in, that's what we're going to discuss. In this case, after we finished the podcast episode last week, Steve sent me over some pictures, and one of the things included was a bunch of football, including some CFL. So tell us kind of what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So, and like I said, it's weird when you mention something, it shows up or it happens. But yeah, we had discussed that, you know, the shop would really like some vintage football, NFL, CFL. It's just, I think it's a regional thing too. It just, didn't make its way here. But sure enough, last week, about 5 hours after we talked about it, in walks a gentleman with 1950s and 60s CFL football. So I believe those ones there are NFL, but they're 59 tops, but the CFL ones look the same.
Yep.
Obviously, they're just Canadian Football League teams, but you know, there's 62 tops in there. There's 59 tops. There's lots of Philadelphia mixed in too, which again's we don't receive Philadelphia cards around here, and they're surprisingly like fairly well priced as well. Well, the 50s and 60s football um, isn't super expensive. I mean, there's some of the big rookie cards, but the average common card you can pick it up for like $3 to $10, and these are actually ex mint to near mint. So I'm working on that today, and yeah, looking forward to having this stuff available for the local collectors.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of these here, you've got a little bit of Bowman included in there as well. So you've got a
Yep.
mix of that. So I wanted to start with this one. This is obviously very colorful display and everything. I'll move on to the next slide. We've got a little bit more football as well that we'll show you. And again, we've got some vintage, we've got some boxes, we also got some non-sport vintage. So a little bit of a mix of different stuff, but we'll show you some stuff. And we'll finish off with the soccer card. So we've got at least a little bit of a mix of things this time around. So here we got these ones. I think you were mentioning briefly about these. So tell me what's going on with these ones.
Yeah, so these are extremely rare. They're from 1956 and it's CFL, and they came out of shredded wheat. So, of course, not only are they, they're old 1956, but, how you would obtain them. And then these, you can see where there's a perforation there where you would, cut out the name and the number. And I believe, just like a lot of the sets back then, you would mail them in. And I don't know what the reward was, but a lot of times when you find these, they're just the headshot without the number and the player's name. So a lot of people probably haven't even seen these. They are quite rare. And I was checking the pop report on them yesterday, and like a lot of them only have like 3 or 4 examples graded. Period. So it might be a fun thing that those that just like slabbing cards might want to pick one up, because whether it's a 1 or a 6, it's probably one of the only 4 or 5 examples. But these actually are quite nice. There's a few that have a crease in them, but a lot of them are kind of like EX range, which for this is actually a very nice condition.
Mm-hmm. And then clicking on this one, we got some more of those shredded wheats. And then we've also got here. So these ones are the ones where we get into a little bit of some more of the football. So we've got at the top there, we've got some of these here, some Montreal Alouettes. So you can see here some more CFL included here. And then scrolling down, here are the ones that are tops. But these are tops where you're actually talking about CFL. So design is the same as the NFL that you saw a minute ago for some of these, but these are the CFL teams. So you've got there very colorful. So you can see there looking at some of these here. You got the little logos like the Eskimo logo there in the little football. And then here you've got some, these basically resemble identical design to the NFL counterparts. But again, very colorful. You got the Paul Anderson here, Saskatchewan Rubber. It's just interesting looking at it. I actually have some of these personally, some of these CFL ones. It is interesting looking at the design though that you can see in the NFL, but seeing it with CFL teams that you might be familiar with if you're around these parts. And then you've got these. So can you tell me about the top now we just talked about. The bottom we were talking about. Can you tell me what these black and white ones are in the middle here?
So those are the 62 top CFL. And they liked having things attached back in the day. I don't know why, but these would come in panels of 2, I believe, and same sort of thing. You would perforate them, and they're probably the size of a 51 Parky. So these are hard to find, obviously, in high grade because people would pull them apart, and they were so tiny they would fall on the floor, this and that. But yeah, another neat set. And I've noticed too with a lot of the CFL cards, they'll put the college the players went to. So a lot of the CFL actually head south because if the American college fan is diehard, so if they're collecting a player that went to West Virginia, they're going to want every West Virginia card. So on the back of these, when I'll name just some random player, I've never even heard of him personally, but he'll sell right away because he went to West Virginia or he went to Oklahoma. So a lot of CFL cards actually make their way south to U.S. college collectors.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. So, like I said, we were mentioning it, and here it is. And again, it wasn't planned, but it's one of those things. If it comes in the store and we've got it, Steve will take some pictures. If he sends them my way, we'll feature them. We'll talk about it. So, some interesting ones. So, there you go. You got a mix of some NFL and some CFL included in there. And then here was a box of some non-sports that you had on there that you kind of shared with me. Can you just tell me vaguely what's going on with this box?
Yeah, just again, an hour after the football, another gentleman came in, and he's a rather young guy, and he just said, "I've inherited these. They've been sitting in my closet." And of course, a young guy, I'm thinking, "Oh, it's going to be some '90s stuff." And then he opens up the box, and it's all from the 1930s. So I just kind of sent Carlos a little picture of what's in there, but in a later episode, I'll kind of take some pictures and show some of the sets that are in there. But there's Horrors of War, there's Tom Mix, a lot of like obscure brands too, like National Chickle, there's Skybirds, U.S. Caramel Presidents, like just stuff again you never see around here, and it's just rare in general. So, and conditions not the greatest on these, but again, just stuff to provide for the collector. And some of these will end up going online because it's a regional thing too, and there may not be collectors of some of these issues in this area, but some of them are quite rare and sought after. I think there's like some Mickey Mouse, Dick Tracy, some of those sets as well. So again, I love this stuff and can't explain it, but the summer of vintage, it continues.
It really has been. Yeah, we've definitely seen quite a bit of it. So that's why I said it depends on what comes in. We can't predict ahead of time. We'll roll with it. Whatever is what happens to come in is whatever happens to come in. So you guys got a chance to see all that different stuff. We started off with the comic book, did a lot CFL and NFL football. You've seen some non-sport, and we'll finish off with the Lionel Messi card from Argentina and Obsidian. There you go.
Yep.
Whole mix.
That's
Full
called
range.
a color blast. And I believe, I believe a customer pulled that out of a pack. So I just asked him if we could get a little soccer content going. And I think I posted on Facebook, we now do have a discount soccer box. I don't know if it's with the World Cup on the horizon, but several requests for a soccer box, which again, we just can't create one. So it took a little while to accumulate enough soccer. So now we do have a little, discount soccer box in there in the store.
Yeah, so you see a little bit of the mix, the old and the new, and soccer. Just to finish off, the modern card happened to be soccer. But again, it just depends on what we've got available. It depends on what people bring in. It depends on what people are into, and we'll kind of play by ear. But in this case, an interesting mix. So if you folks like seeing some different stuff, you got a little bit of different stuff this time around. So let's take a look at some clear cut hockey. For those familiar, this year is going to be 24-25. So 24-25. We're still operating with the multiple years thing. So just bear in mind, we're going with what's coming out. But the most recent one is going to be 24-25. And if you're familiar with this particular product, they are basically one card per box. So box is basically a pack / card. It's usually one. Oftentimes, it's an acetate card. It's an autograph acetate basically from different designs. So Upper Deck borrows some of its old designs. So if you're interested in autographs, it is kind of a good one. It is good for singles collectors as well because you can get certain players and pick up different designs that maybe you don't see elsewhere. So I'll quickly showcase a couple of these things. A link will be in the description to it so you can check out the checklist. So if you want to see specific things or look at what's available and what you can get your hands on, this will be the best way. Check the link in the description. That'll be the best way to check that out. Okay, so here's what you're looking for. Like I said, every single pack is going to contain one card, basically, is what you're looking at. The base set is signed on card. So you're looking at the design of 24-25 Upper Deck Flagship. That's the base design, so to speak. Veterans are 1 in 6 packs. Rookies are 1 in 4. Greats 1 in 75 packs. So there's an Austin Matthews, for example. If you saw that card in hand, it would be an acetate card, and where that autograph is, it would be kind of see-through. It does create a neat effect. So if you get a chance, and it's going to be based on the player you get. Again, check out the checklist, and you'll get a better sense of what's available. You do have parallels available of these as well. So you got the Outburst out of 25, a High Gloss out of 10, and a Gold Outburst 1 of 1. I will say, if you get some of the Outbursts on the whole acetate and everything, they do actually look quite nice. So you can check it out. If you see some of them in hand, you'll really get a better sense of it. So here's a Ray Bork number to 10, just as an example. There is a High Gloss, so you can get those. So that's something you can look at. You also got canvas signatures, 1 in 13 packs. So you do have a canvas version of this. Those ones are not acetate, but it's canvas design. And then again, it's still an autograph. There's red ink versions as well, numbered to the player's jersey number, and gold ink are 1 of 1s. So you do have some variants there. Canvas rookie debuts are the only ones that don't have autographs. So you see the Canvas rookie debuts here, the only ones in clear cut. There's some boxes that include a redemption, making for a second card. Rookie debut signatures have 25 copies each, while there's 1 gold ink version for each. So there's multiple variations. Again, check out the checklist. So these are examples from the mock-ups. Crystalline Stars autos are here. So this one is a more of a unique design. So this one I think is an original design. The other ones are all borrowing from existing designs. But this one I think is a design specifically for this product. Your base version is 1 in 20 packs. Additional parallels come red out of 35, blue out of 10, gold 1 of 1. So the Bedard, there is the example given. So then here you got Upper Deck Vintage, 1 in 16 packs. Greats 1 in 120 packs. Rookies 1 in 11. So these ones give a little bit more of a throwback design to it. So the Sebastian Aho is an example of that. And then here's one that I'm having a little bit of fun with, I gotta be honest. As part of the whole clear cut thing, they will use retro design. So I'm gonna put retro in quotation marks just for the sake of this conversation. So the example they give here is 97-98 Upper Deck StarQuest autograph. So this right here is the design. This is StarQuest. If you're familiar with 97-98, now I was collecting packs and stuff like that back then. Collector's Choice was a low-end brand. StarQuest were fun. I will say the multiple, like the 4-star StarQuest were really tough ones back then. It is kind of interesting though, borrowing from basically what was, I think it was 99 cents a pack back in 97-98. So we're borrowing that design, obviously putting new players on it. We're borrowing the design, putting new players on it. Now it is going to be an autograph acetate card. So it is going to follow in with the whole clear cut thing. But it is interesting they're going with that design for this one. You're also using 99 2000 Upper Deck Ice Gallery autos. That one I think will look really nice. 2000 2001 SPX Excitement autos. Again, I think that'll be an interesting design to see. 2000 2001 SP Authentic Power Skaters autos. Again, I would say those ones make a little more sense to me. The StarQuest I think is an interesting choice, but I'll reserve judgment until we see one in hand. So again, here's what you're looking at: 1 card per pack, 1 pack per box. Every case has 30 boxes, 2 15-box inner cases, because again, these are set up like that. The set is 108 cards, so it is set up like that. What to expect in a hobby box? 1 autograph. That's what you should expect. That's what the box is. You can download an Excel version of the checklist, and you can also look here and see the different autographs, updates, and the full checklist, team sets, whatever you want to look for, and you can find that all here. The link will be in the description to all of this. Any thoughts or comments you want to add on this one, Steve?
I mean, they're trying some different things, so they can only get so creative when you know there's 1 card, 1 autograph. So they are trying some different things, and then as a the buyer needs to prepare themselves. It's 1 card, so you have to live with the consequence of buying 1 card. But there are some good chase cards in there. Sometimes it can be frustrating, if you just get, not a chase card. There can be a big difference in value, but most people that buy the product know what they're getting into. But it's a fun product anyway. So I kind of like the StarQuest, and we'll see how it looks in hand. But clear cut's always been a staple the last few years, and it does sell. So
it is the ultimate feast or famine. So as long as you understand that, that's why we took a moment to really emphasize it is 1 box, 1 card, 1 pack. And that's basically what you're looking for. You open it up, there's your card, and what you get is what you get. And basically, you're crossing your fingers and rolling the dice a little bit. But you can pull some really nice stuff. Like there are some really interesting. There's some short prints. There's obviously some numbered versions. You can pull some really good players. So it just your mileage may vary. Again, like that Ray Borg is a really cool card. And if you get like the out of 10 Ray Borg, that'd be a neat card. There are some good players in there that you can pull. It just depends. And again, some of the designs I think can be executed very well. Old designs on an acetate setup could be very interesting, and sometimes historically that's what happens with a lot of those. So good luck to those who decide to open up a box. Hopefully you pull something good. All right, so we'll finish up with so that right there is included. Like I said, link will be in the description for that. Let me finish off with this. We talked about, I mentioned to Steve that the auction was happening for a gigantic card in the space, and that is for a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant dual logo man autograph. And that one sold, I believe, was Heritage Auctions, I believe, is the one who had it. And by the time it was all said and done and all the bidding was completed, it ended up selling for 12,900,000 and change. Basically like it's like basically what we're charging Blair for the like button. It's basically that kind of money. So big dollar amounts. So I kind of separate two things. When you're talking about that much money, it's more institutional investor, and in this case, it was specifically an institutional investor. And I'll share with you a little bit of a social media post on this that covers it, because the people that bought it actually came forward. So when the big sale happened, it was like obviously that's a lot of money. Curious to see like who was it? Is it like the Paul Skeens situation? Was it a business that bought it? Well, sort of, but not exactly. So in this case, it turned out it was a consortium. It was a group of 3 people, and there's 2 pieces to this. So here is the kind of the social media post out for it. So it was 3 people. It was Kevin O'Leary, known as Shark Tank. It was Shine 150, so nickname Shine 150, who is they list here in the Sports Card Investor Post as like a prominent collector in the hobby. We'll say that. It's someone who's definitely dropped big dollars on a lot of cards and case breaks and things like that. So a little bit of a mysterious figure in the hobby, we'll say. So a little bit of controversy with that. But then another person called Paul Warshaw. These 3 people together combined forces to pick up this item. Now for them, it's kind of a rounding error because they've already demonstrated, at least 2 of the 3 guys we know have demonstrated they've got plenty of money. But one interesting thing they did as well is they also announced that they're starting a project as part of this group. So this apparently is going to be one of multiple holdings they're going to have in the sports card space. And Kevin O'Leary has already gone out on CNBC and different places to kind of talk about the plan is to have this as part of different holdings. They're gonna have this company, but they're also gonna have this thing they've created that is going to be like a high-end marketplace. So it looks like they're using it as kind of a marketing tool to also sell a product. So it's interesting. So a couple of things, Steve. First one is we've got these super high-end items. Like I said, I mentioned the Paul Skeens thing already. Dick's Sporting Goods bought that, and then they put it on display in their stores. So it was like a marketing expense for them, and they did it with the one in the Pittsburgh area. So I get that. But that means a lot of these cards that are going basically to businesses are getting put into a vault and kind of disappearing. But at the same time, I'm of 2 minds, Steve. On the one hand, that's unfortunate, but on the other hand, like let's be honest, the average collector isn't spending $12 million on anything, and because they're not an average collector anymore. Even if it is a collector, it's not your average ordinary person walking into the store at AMG. Probably isn't the person who's dropping $13 million on a single piece of cardboard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on it. 100% it's a marketing tool. If they're launching a new business, they want that to be the featured item, which makes sense. And they would have paid $6 million or $40 million. I think they decided they were just buying that card. Yeah, and same thing. They're what they're trying to start isn't something the average collector or investor can get into. So it's they'll definitely be the high end collectors. I guess we want to call it play money. I don't have that much play money, although I was the underbidder on the card. But I'll turn my attentions elsewhere. But yeah, there is that just higher, echelon of the hobby that, it's a playground for those that can afford it. So they have their space. We have our space. Wish them all the best. But I think the guy that auctioned that card is probably enjoying life right now. Because I think he paid 6 figures for it, maybe.
I think the procession, from what I understand, because I think Fanatics Collect did a post on this. There was a guy who had who had bought it for 25,000, I believe, and then that person sold it for 170. So they made a decent profit on it at the time, fine. And then I believe the $170,000 buyer, which again is a lot of money. Let's be clear about this.
Yeah.
Is then I believe the seller who then in turn sold it for almost 13 million.
Yeah. So we may not see the guy that sold it for 13 million anymore. Or you wouldn't see me. I would probably be enjoying life somewhere. But yeah, it's mind-boggling sometimes. And with social media and that, it definitely brings attention to the hobby. And Kevin O'Leary, I don't necessarily always agree with everything that comes out of his mouth, but he knows business. So he's in the sports collectible market now. So that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what's going to be the interesting part about this. So, like, kind of, again, I just wanted to talk about it for a couple of minutes. But one thing I'll throw out there is a thought. It's kind of a thought on this. So, number one, I'm not worried about this one way or the other because it's an alternate reality. Like, once you get past that kind of that price point, it almost exists in a bubble. It doesn't really. My day to day buying of a Mike Modano card is not impacted in any way, shape, or form by this. Like it exists in another universe. It's one thing doesn't touch the other. And even if you're a Michael Jordan collector who collects regular Michael Jordan, again, this doesn't really affect you one way or the other. So it's not even about the sport. It's just about it's a different stratosphere. And again, it's almost at that point, even though it's these individuals that we can name, it's still like an institutional buyer. It is closer to the Dick's Sporting Good. It's almost like a company that buys it for a purpose. For them, it's a marketing tool for this thing they're going to launch. But it is interesting, I will say, that Kevin O'Leary is now making their because it's one thing that they bought it. It's another thing that now they've made public that they're the buyer. They obviously have no problem. They want people to know that they're the ones who bought it and that they paid all this money. Because then in turn, you have Kevin O'Leary going out there making the social media rounds and the news round, like CNBC on TV as well. And part of it is that he wants to talk about cards as an asset class. Now, if you remember around 2021, we were having this with the fractional sharing and a lot. It's new asset class, new asset class. Well, here's Kevin O'Leary rolling through about 4 years later, and we're back to the asset class. Steve, we're all back to the asset class again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's anyway, we don't have to worry about that. So we'll keep plugging away with what we're doing and taking care of those around us.
Are you saying the 50s and 60s CFL cards aren't going to get to the asset class, Steve? We're not. It's not Picasso's and 50 CFL. That's.
I'll try. Quite... I'll make some calls.
Yeah, well, it's worth a shot. But I just thought it was interesting. I thought I would bring it to everybody's attention and have some thoughts on it. If I can find an article or something interesting to it, I'll throw it in the description for you. But again, it made the rounds this past weekend. It is a big sale. It is, a historic sale. Technically, it is the highest sports card sale in kind of an auction right now, pending, it passed the Mickey Mantle card. I think it was the PSA 9 Mantle that was the highest up until this point. And then maybe the next Honus Wagner, if one of the higher end ones goes for sale, it could pass it. But right now, the vintage had been having the highest sale. Well, now a modern card took that over, at least for the moment, until the next big auctions comes. And you never know. Maybe the Kevin O'Leary and those guys will roll through and buy the next big thing as part of their plan at having this big group of stuff. So we'll see. So on that bombshell, we'll leave it at that. Again, links to everything we were talking about in the description, so you can all check that out and see what's going on with it. Again, anything that you want to know, pricing-wise or availability-wise, anything. You want to find out if those CFL cards are available, reach out to the store directly. Contact points in the description. If you want to check out the pricing on Clear Cut or anything else we were talking about, any of those other boxes, again, reach out directly to the store. If you've got a more general question, something that isn't as time sensitive, yeah, feel free to put it in the comment section. Hit the like button for Blair. Again, he's not here, so we're charging him for the like button. And then also if you could subscribe. We're going to try to work our way up to the 450, and then I want to get to 500 subscribers and beyond. But let's see if we can get one step at a time. Let's see if we can get closer to 450. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Don't do it for us. Do it for Blair.
Absolutely.
Yes. For myself and Steve, Collector Scallop Collector People, that's episode 94 in the books. Thank you very much. We'll catch you in the next one.